in general, I think pricing is, in fact, there's data that I share in the book that if you think of, if you're a business owner or the CEO and you think of what is the number one thing that you ought to ensure happens with the company, it really ought to be not the top line, not market share, it ought to be the bottom line. Why? Because the bottom line, if you have it, you can use that to get to the top line. But if all you have is the top line with zero bottom line, or you're losing money, then you're not going to be having too much of a top line either in the long run. So bottom line is sort of mother's milk, so to speak, when it comes to business. The thing about the bottom line is that all the levers that a CEO has, I can spend money in R&D, I can hire more salespeople, I can cut costs, I can, all the things that you can do, which apparently have a direct link to the bottom line. Pricing has the most leverage to the bottom line. And when I say pricing, I don't just mean raising prices. Sometimes reducing prices will have a more positive impact on the bottom line. So pricing, from my point of view, is one of the more underutilized marketing sub-functions in the business world, which can have the most impact on the bottom line. So that's part of the lies and damn lies that I'm trying to wash away on the pricing chapter.
Good. Makes sense. It's funny. I think of the example of, you can get a steak at an Outback Steakhouse or a steak at a Ruth's Chris. And, an Outback steak is $30 and a Ruth's Steakhouse is like $80. I don't know if the difference is that. I mean, I think a steak at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is probably a little bit better, but not that much of it. But there is an intangible to the pricing of a steak, at a high-end steakhouse that it's like a special occasion, it's something that you're willing to spend more money for. It's got something around it. And I think that all dovetails into the marketing. And I think ignoring pricing and marketing is just it's a big fiction. People, have made that mistake in the past. And as you wrote, this is not something that we should be ignoring. Before we move on, you told a story of the tortoise and the hare. Can you fill us in on that a little bit?
Yeah. So in my 35 plus years in the business world, I've never met a CEO or a manager or a business leader, myself included, who is not a type A person wanting things yesterday.
Sure.
So let's stipulate that that's the real world. That's how people operate. That's what the expectation is. What I discovered with experience was that, and this is, I think I say this in so many words in the book, that it's worse to go fast in the wrong direction than it is to go slow in the right direction.
Okay.
So in other words, you are much better off going slower in the right direction than dashing away at the fastest possible way, but the wrong way.
Right.
So tortoise and hare, I sort of use that as an example, as a graphic in the book, where I sort of say that the tortoise was sort of basically single-handedly, doggedly just going in one direction, knew where he needed to go, where the hare was bouncing around. Faster was bouncing around. And we know how that story ended. I think it applies to the business world as well.